If you are completely new to Node.js, you might be asking, what is Node.js? Node.js is a platform. It allows you to run JavaScript code on a computer. Before Node.js, JavaScript code would only run in the web browsers, like this one, Google Chrome. So let me quickly open a new blank window here, about blank, and right click and click on the inspect here, and let's go to the console and let's write some JavaScript code. And you don't have to write this code with me, this is just a quick demonstration. Okay, so let's create a simple alert, window.alert. Using this alert method, we pass some message here. Let's say hello Node.js, and if you hit enter, you see the alert pops up, which means that the code that we write, the JavaScript code, is understood by this web browser. Let's also write another message using the console log method. Let's pass some message here. Let's say learning node, and you see it is printed as well. So JavaScript code is understood by the web browsers, but it's not the same with our computer. So let me open a terminal here. Okay, and let's try writing the same code here, console log, and let's write the same message, learning node, and you see it says the syntax error. That means it does not understand the code we write. So this is where Node.js comes in. With a node, you can write JavaScript code and it will run on a computer. You will also get access to the computer's operating system. You can read, update, or delete files. You can communicate with the database and much more. In the next lesson, let's talk about why learn Node.js. Let's talk about why you should learn Node.js. With Node.js, you will be writing JavaScript code. That means you can focus on only one programming language for both backend and front-end web development. It is also extremely fast because it runs on V8 engine and uses non-blocking code. And you will also learn about what is blocking and non-blocking code in the later chapters. Okay, so basically the V8 engine is Google's open source high-performance JavaScript engine. It is written in a programming language called C++, and it is used in Chrome, Google Chrome, and also in Node.js, and there are some other platforms using this V8 engine as well. So you may ask how this V8 engine works. Let me give you a bit more information about this V8 engine and why JavaScript need such engine. Okay, V8 engine takes JavaScript code and compiles it into much faster machine code. Machine code is a low-level code that your computer can run directly. So Node uses NPM, which is another great reason to use Node.js. NPM is the world's largest library of open source packages. So you can use those existing packages to build up your application without having to write them on your own from scratch. Node.js is also great for building real-time applications. And not only that, it is also expanding its territory to other platforms, such as building a desktop application or even robotics and machine learning. So the present and future looks pretty solid for Node.js developers. So these are some of the few reasons I think why you should consider learning Node.js. We had a bit of a talk about Node.js and why you should learn it. Now it's time to install Node.js in our computer and start coding. So first thing we need to do is we need to go to nodejs.org and install Node.js in our computer. I'm on Mac, so automatically it shows the download option for Mac, but if you are on Windows, you will get the same options as well. So let's click here to download, and let's save somewhere here on the desktop. Once it is downloaded, let's run this. Okay, so the Node.js is installed in our computer. Great. Now, to make sure that it is installed properly, let's go to our terminal and let's run node-v to check the current version. And you see, I'm currently using the version 10. Okay, great. Now with Node.js installed, we can give it a try. We can use something called REPL, that is REPL. So it stands for read, evaluate, print, and loop. Okay. So we can directly execute code using Node.js. So let's just type node and hit enter, and you get this environment where you can directly write some code just to give it a try. So let's write 2 plus 3 and hit enter. As you can see, it calculates and gives us the sum. Great. We can also write console log learning node. Previously, we tried to execute this code in our terminal and that didn't work. But now that we are inside this node REPL, we should be able to execute this one. Hit enter, and you see it prints the logged message. Okay, so we have successfully installed Node.js in our machine. In the next 2 lessons, we will talk about JavaScript in the browser environment and JavaScript in Node.js environment. And there are some similarities which will help you greatly understand how Node.js works. Okay, I'll see you in the next lesson. Let's take a moment to understand JavaScript in the browser environment. It will help us understand Node.js. So in a browser, just right-click, inspect, and go to the console and type window. Hit enter, and you see this window object has a lot of properties and methods here. And you can see a few of them we already used. We used alert to pop up the alert window here. Basically everything that is available in the browser environment is inside this window object. This is the top level object. Let's use one of the method available in this window object called open. Window.open. This will open a new browser window, and we can give it a name of the website we want to open. Let's try http colorado.com. Hit enter, and that will open the new window with that URL. Window has a lot of all these properties and methods, and there is something similar in the Node environment as well. But before we go to the Node environment, which we will do in the next lesson, let's also talk about document. Okay, you can also do window.document and hit enter. Okay, so once you do, you get this document object, and this document object holds the current document, the current web page you see on the browser. Okay, if you click here, you see the entire HTML that is making up this page. So we can apply JavaScript to manipulate this document object. Let's say we want to change the background color from white to red. Okay, so we can do that using JavaScript. So what we can do is we can go to the document, right? And we can use query selector, and we give the selector what we're trying to manipulate, and in this case let's apply this to the body of the document. Okay, and then we want to manipulate this style with background color. Okay, and let's give it a color of red. Okay, so hit enter, and you see that we were able to manipulate the document object. We used the JavaScript to change the background color. So what I would like you to understand from this lesson is that in the browser environment, we have window object, which is the top level wrapper object, and we have document object inside that window object. And this document object is what represents our document, our page, web page. Okay, so let's go back to the Node.js environment and see how this knowledge will help you understand Node.js. See you in the next lesson. Let's understand JavaScript in Node.js environment. So I'm back to my terminal window, and if you still have this Node REPL running, you can exit using the shortcut Ctrl+C or Command+C. Okay. So just like we have window object in the browser environment, we have something called global in Node.js. Okay. So if you type, first you need to type node, get into the Node REPL mode, and then type global. So global is similar to window object. And once you hit enter, you see all these properties and methods we have available inside the global object. Okay, so we have a process inside this global object which represents the document. Okay, so the Node.js application you will build will be running in this process. So just like we have window and then we have document and everything, the entire markup, the template we create, the web page we create is inside this document. In a similar way, in the Node.js environment, we have the global object, the wrapper object, and we have the process. And this is the process, the Node.js process. Okay, so inside this process object, we have the title, we have the versions, we have the version of the V8 engine, and a lot of other properties here. And we also have the set interval and set timer. So you might know these methods. They are available in the browser environment as well as in the Node.js environment as well. Okay. And to exit, you can obviously press Ctrl+C, or you can even use process.exit method as well. Okay. So this is a basic overview of Node.js. Just like we have the window object and the document in the browser mode, we have global and we have process in Node.js. Now it is time for us to start writing some code. Okay, so go ahead and create a folder wherever you want. You might want to create in a desktop, or you want to create in some root directory. What I've done here is I have created this folder called Node.react in the root. Okay, so if you go to the terminal and list out all the files using this ls command, you see I have all these folders here. If I want to go to desktop, I would do desktop, and there I see a lot of files here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the root directory using the cd and clear out the rest of the commands there. And if I list out, I have all these folders here, and Node.react also must be here somewhere. Yeah, Node.react. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside this folder, cd Node.react. Okay, and I have nothing there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file, and you can just go there and manually create a new folder, or you can do from the command line. So make directory, let's call it node basic. Okay, so it has been created. Let's create a file inside this node basic. So let's get inside node basic and let's create a file using this touch. Let's call it app.js. Okay, and let me drag this to my text editor. I'm using Sublime Text here. Okay, so I have this project here, app.js. Let's write something here. Very simple. Let's write console log hello from Node.js. Okay, Let's save this file. Let's go to the terminal, and we are inside that project, right? So here, what I can do is I want to execute this file, app.js. So I can use Node for that. So Node app.js, hit enter, and you see hello from Node.js, because that is what we are logging in this file. Perfect. Let's learn a bit more about all these basics, because these basics comes really handy and really useful when you actually start building real application. Okay, so let's continue in few other lessons, learning the basics, making ourselves comfortable before we begin writing the actual code and start building real applications. All right, see you in the next lesson. Thank you. In this lesson, you will learn about functions. In fact, we're going to be creating a very simple function, but we will import, export, we will use some modern JavaScript, and all this will help you later when we start building Node.js application. Okay, so let's clear this out and let's create a function. Okay, function, let's call it sum. It will take 2 arguments and it will return the total, a plus b. Okay, so this is a very simple function. It will just add. You give 2 arguments and it will give you the sum, right? Now let's create a variable. In JavaScript, there are a couple of ways of creating a variable. You can use the keyword var, you can use let, or you can use const. And I recommend using const. So if your variable, the value of the variable will change over time, then you can use let, otherwise you can use const. Okay, so let's create a constant variable. So const, let's call it total, equals to, so this variable's value will be the function. So whatever is returned by this function will be the value of this variable. In JavaScript, functions are first-class citizens. So what that means is functions are flexible enough to be assigned as a value to a variable. They can be passed as an argument to another function, right? So you have this flexibility about functions in JavaScript. So that's why functions are first-class citizens in JavaScript. So that is the reason why we can assign the function as a variable value. You don't get such functionality in every other programming language, but JavaScript you can. Okay, so let's assign this function as the value of this variable, sum. Okay, and we need to pass few arguments so that this function works, right? So let's add 10 and let's give another 200. Okay, so we passed these 2 arguments that are represented by the a and b. Okay, so this should give us the total. So let's console log this total variable. Okay, save this file, go here, and again let's run node app.js. By the way, you can use up and down arrow to use the previous commands you used. Okay, hit enter and you get the output total is 210. That means our function worked. You learn about the ways of creating variables. You can use var, let, and const, and we will be using let and const quite a lot later, and you will become more comfortable and understand much better as well later. Okay, and you also learn that functions can be passed as value to the variables. Okay, so this is very basic, but slowly, gradually we will make progress. Okay, so let's continue with all these basics. In the next lesson, you'll learn about code separation. How do you move this function to a separate file and import this function to use in this app.js file? Okay, so let's learn about import export in the next lesson. Thank you. When you start building an application, you will end up writing a lot of code. It is always a good idea to modularize or separate your code from the very beginning. So in this case, we can separate this function to a separate file. So let's create a new file. Let's name it helpers.js. Okay, and let's paste that code here. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to export this function from this helpers file and import into app.js and use here. And later, if we need this some function in some other files in our entire application, we should be able to use that, right? So once we export from here, we should be able to use that function anywhere inside our application. Okay, and there is a way we can do that. First, let me comment this out, okay, and let me console log process. Okay, so if you remember, in browser we have window object, and inside window we have document. In a similar way, in Node.js we have a global, and inside global we have this process. Okay, so this is what we are concerned. So let's console log. Let's see what we have available in this process. So let's call it node app.js, and as you can see, the process object has been console logged here. It has a lot of properties and methods you already saw earlier, but let's go all the way down, and you see here we have this module object, and in this module object we have the exports object, which is currently empty. This is in the root of this process object. So we can take benefit of this. We can add the functions that we create, okay? So we can add them into this exports object. As a result, whatever is added to this exports object will be available in the entire application. Okay, so what we can do is we can use this exports to export our method. So as a result, that will be available in the entire application, because entire application is running in the process. Because exports is a part of this process object. Okay, so what we can do is we can go here and we want to export, right? So module exports, this object currently empty. Now we're going to add this method that we create. Perfect. Now we should be able to access this sum method. So let's go back to app.js. Let me comment this for now. Let me uncomment these ones. And here I'm going to require. So let me assign that to a variable constant. Let's call it helpers equals to require helpers, and it is in the same directory. So I just use / to load from the same folder, same directory. Okay, so this is how we import our own files, our own modules, and use them in our application. Okay, now that we have imported this helper from this file, what we can do is we can use helpers.sum. So we require helpers, or you can give it any other name. Okay, so we require helpers from helpers, and we use the sum method out of that. Okay, now let's go to the console and see if it works. Okay, so node app.js, and you see it works. So we were able to move our function to a different file, export from there using module exports, and use anywhere in our application. In our case, we used in app.js. We assigned it to a helpers variable, and then we accessed that method using helpers.sum, and this is how it worked. This require method you can use to load your own modules like we did here, or you can use this require method to load core Node.js modules as well as third-party modules that we will use using npm. Okay, so all that you will learn in coming videos, and you might also realize that this require method is not available in the browser environment. Even though it's a JavaScript code, it is available only in the Node.js environment. Let's comment all this out, and let's uncomment the console log and see if the process has the module exports, if that has some properties. Okay, so let me go node app.js. Okay, as you can see, the exports, even though we added the sum method to exports, it shows empty. Why is that? That's because the exports is private to each modules. So instead of trying to console log here, what we can do is we can try console logging here. Save this file and go to your terminal, and this time run node helpers.js. Okay, and here in the exports you can see the sum has been added and it is a function. Okay, so you don't see the entire code. Obviously you don't see the code executed as well, but you can see it has been added to the exports object. Okay, so there are other ways of exporting. It's a similar way but syntactically easier to use, and we will explore those options in the following lesson. Thank you. In this lesson, you'll learn to write arrow functions. So here we have a function. This is a standard function, and with modern JavaScript you can write arrow functions as well. So there are certain differences between the regular function and arrow function, and we will discover the differences as we progress, as we continue to build the application later. But for the moment, let's see how we can take this standard function and convert it to arrow function. Okay, so first let's create a constant variable. Let's call it sum, and we're going to assign this function to this variable. Okay, so this function will be arrow function. So arrow function begins with the parenthesis, so you pass the arguments there. So in this case a and b. Okay, and then to return, you write the arrow here, then you write curly braces and a return like so. Okay, so in a similar way. So this is how you can write arrow function. So let me comment this out for now. Okay, let me save this file. Let me get rid of this as well. So we have the function we are exporting just like we did before, just a subtle difference here. And here in app.js, let me get rid of this, and let's uncomment all this and give it a try. So all we did here is we just changed the function to the arrow function. Okay, so let's come back here and let's run node app.js, and we still see the result. So arrow function definitely works, right? But there is much more you can do with arrow function. As you can see here, we have only one statement. Okay, we don't have multi-line statement. It is just one line statement. So in such case, you can get rid of the curly braces. We can get rid of the return keyword as well, and put it all in one line. Okay, very much simplified, and this works perfectly fine. Okay, so if you have only one line return statement, you don't need return keyword, you don't need curly braces, you can just write everything in one line. Okay, come back here, give it a try one more time, perfectly works. Okay, with arrow functions, for example, let's say you didn't have any arguments, you're writing a function that doesn't require any arguments. In that case, you still need to have the empty parenthesis like so. Okay, so if that was the case, you would have it like that. What if you had only one argument instead of a and b? What if you had only one argument? Then you don't need to have the parenthesis. You could just have it like that. Okay, just the argument without parenthesis. That also works. Okay, so arrow function is pretty cool. It is short, it is easy to understand, it is easy to use, and most importantly, there is one big difference between the regular function and arrow function, and that is these arrow functions don't have their own context. So if you are using this keyword within the arrow function, they would point to the enclosing context. Okay, because they don't have their own context. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind. There is a difference between arrow function and the regular function, and the difference comes when you use this keyword. So if we come across later with this situation, obviously I will explain, otherwise you don't need to stress about it. Okay, so basically this is how you can write the same function using arrow function, which is very cool. Now what else we can do here? We are currently exporting like this. Now there is a simplified way of exporting such methods in Node.js. What you can do is instead of writing like that, that is perfectly fine, but what you can also do is you can directly use exports dot the variable name, and this variable is returning a function, right? So this also works. So the entire code is now simplified to one line. Okay, so save this file and go here and give it a try one more time. Perfect. See, so using the arrow functions and using the exports directly, we can simplify our code and it is much more readable. Now later you might create many functions. You can always use exports, and that's how it works. It's nice and easy. Okay, so we did quite a lot of refactoring here. You understand about arrow functions, you understand how to exports nice and easy using directly the exports, right? And we are requiring here, and everything is there as usual. Okay, now in this short lesson I will show you how to use destructuring to simplify your code. So as you can see here in our app.js file, we are trying to use some method from this file. So what we're doing here is we are importing using the require method. We are storing the entire module in this constant, in this variable, helpers variable. Then we are accessing one of this method available into this file, in this module, right? Now there's a simpler way. Instead of accessing the properties like so, what if we could just use sum? Well, you can do that. All you need to do is use object destructuring. Okay, so what you can do is create this object syntax, and here what you like to extract from this helpers, you want to extract sum only, right? Previously you had helpers and you had helpers.sum, but now you want to just get the sum out of the helpers. So all you do is this. Using this destructuring syntax, you require only sum from the helpers. This way it is much more simplified and it works perfectly fine. Give it a try. Perfectly fine. Okay, now if you had some more methods exported from this object, let's say add, then you could also comma separate add. Okay, you could destructure multiple exports, whatever has been exported you can import, you can require using this object destructuring, which is much more simplified approach and easy to use and easy to understand, right? Okay, so this was a very quick and easy introduction to object destructuring. In the last few lessons you learned how to create your own module, and you learned how to require them and use them in your application, right? So you created your own modules. Node.js comes with a lot of built-in modules that we can use to build real applications. So let's begin by writing a simple server using HTTP module that comes with Node.js. And since we have already installed Node.js in our machine, we can simply require that. So let's call it HTTP and let's require HTTP modules from the Node.js. It is a core module that comes with Node.js. And whenever you are using a core Node.js modules or any third-party modules that you will later learn to install using npm, those modules, whenever you want to require them, you don't have to give them the path like so. Okay, so you simply require and they will be automatically loaded to application. All right. So now that we have HTTP, what we can do is we can create a server. So let's call it server variable. And how do we create a server? Well, this HTTP module comes with a method called create server. Just like we have our own module and we have this some method, in a similar way, this HTTP module comes with a create server method, and we can use that to create a server. Okay, so let's try that. HTTP create server, and this takes a function as an argument, and this time we're going to write an arrow function. Okay, and this function will take two arguments, request and response. So based on what request we get, we analyze that request and give response. But for now, let's not worry about request. We will come back to it later and we will understand how this request response lifecycle works. Okay, but for now, let's just give some response so that we can see it in the browser. Okay, so let's just write a response, and you can end the response with this message. Let's say hello world from Node.js. Okay, so we have created a server using this HTTP module. Now, where do we listen to this server? So what we can do is we can say server.listen and give a port number. So you can give any port number. You can give 3000. That's fine. So this is how we can create a simple server with Node.js using this core module. Now let's give it a try. Let's see if we get something output that we can see it in the browser. Okay, so the first thing, go to your terminal and run node app.js. Okay, so it's running. Now let's go to the terminal, and since we are listening on port 3000, let's go here and let's listen localhost 3000. Hit enter, and you can see hello world from Node.js. That means we have successfully created a server using core HTTP module from Node.js. So far, you learned how to create your own module, and you also learned how to require the core Node.js modules. Now, in this lesson, you'll learn how to use third-party modules from npm. Okay, so let's go to npm. And as you can see here, npm is the package manager for JavaScript, and it is the world's largest software registry. So what happens here is that software developers from around the world have already written a lot of great programs, okay? And they have made them available for the whole world as an open source projects. So those projects are available in npm. So we can use those existing packages and use them in our application so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's go to our application and see what package we could use. Of course, we can use a lot of packages, but to start from the very basics, let's go to the browser, and we have this output here, right? Okay, we have our server running, that's fine. So let me come here and make some change. Updated. Okay, so I made some change in my server. Okay, so let's go to the browser and let's refresh, but we don't see the updated code, right? We still see the old code. What's going on? What's going on is the server, every time we make some change, we need to restart the server. So I can do Control C to stop the server and run the server back again. Okay, now if you go and refresh, you see it has been updated. So this is a bit of a hassle, isn't it? I mean, you don't want to go stop the server, make some change, and then again come back, stop and restart the server. That's a lot of hassle, right? So what if there is a package that would keep track of the changes in your server, and every time there is a change, it will keep track of that and restart the server itself. So we don't have to manually stop the server and start the server. It will all be handled by that package. Is there some package like that? Yes, of course there is. And that package is called NodeMon. So let's search for NodeMon. Okay, let's click here. And as you can see, the NodeMon package is here, and you see the installation guide. This is how you install, and you can see the figure, weekly downloads nearly 1 million. So this shows how popular this package is. This package, let's say we want to use. The first thing we need to do is we need to create a package.json file. Okay, so that is a bit of a setup we have to do with our project before we are able to run this command to install this package. Okay, so let's go to our project. Here the server is running. Let me stop and let me initialize my project with npm. Okay, and you can do that using this command npm init. So init means initialization. So when you have node installed, you get access to this command npm init, hit enter, and it will ask you a couple of questions. The package name, if you want to give, you can give a new name or something like that, but for now let's just accept the default name here. Version, let's hit enter, just accept that. Description, you can write something like learning Node.js. Entry point, that's fine. Test command, hit enter. Git repository, we don't have at the moment, just hit enter. Keywords, just hit enter for the moment. Author, give your name. License, it's fine, hit enter. So is this all okay? Hit enter, yes. So with all this information, it has created a new file called package.json. If you go to our project here, you can see a new file has been created called package.json. Okay, so it is in JSON format, and it has the name, version, description we gave. Okay, and it has the author name, everything. So based on the information we put in the terminal, it has created this beautiful package.json file. Okay, now with this we can install any of these packages and use in our application. So let's go ahead and install this one, NodeMon. Okay, so here in the terminal, paste here npm I, or you can even write npm install, either way. This one is much easier, just one word, I. Okay, so it has been installed. Let's go to our project, and as you can see here, we have a new folder created called node modules. So any of the packages, you can see the dependencies we have added NodeMon here. So any package you install, they will be, the core source code will be in the node modules folder. But you might notice, if you see, you have so many folders here. So what's going on? We just installed one package, right? Yeah, but that's how it works. Okay, so this one package depends on many other packages. That's how it becomes such huge number of folders we get to see in the node modules. But don't be scared, that is absolutely normal. Okay, so without any further ado, let me use this NodeMon package. Okay, so this one is actually we're not going to use like require in our application. This is for a bit of a different reason. Okay, before I even use NodeMon, let me show you a simpler way. Let's call it dev. Okay, for development environment. Okay, and here let's write node app.js. This is what we were writing in the terminal, right? So let me save this file, go to my terminal, and this time I can run npm run dev. Okay, so this is the key we gave here, right? So if I run npm run dev, see what happens. It is just like running this command, node app.js. So let me go ahead, and instead of running this like so with node, let me use NodeMon. Okay, if I stop the server and restart again, npm run dev, now this time it's not node app.js, it is NodeMon, and you can already see some changes here. NodeMon is watching for any changes. Okay, now of course it works. Let me change here. Okay, let me get rid of the number, let me get rid of this thing, and let's keep it the way it was before. Save this file. Now once you save, it automatically keep tracks, okay, of any changes, so we don't need to stop the server and restart again. Since we are using NodeMon, I can go to the browser and restart, and you can see it updates. Okay, real update. Let me save, come here, refresh, it works. Okay, so thanks to NodeMon and thanks to npm, we got a real taste of what it feels like to use packages from npm, right? And this is just the beginning. In the next lesson, let's use another extremely popular package called Express to build a custom server. Okay, so let's give that a try in the next lesson. Thank you. In this lesson, let's use another package from npm, and this time we're going to try Express, which is extremely popular package for Node.js for building real web applications. Okay, so we created a custom server using the core HTTP module, but let's get rid of this. We're going to use Express. Okay, so let's go to npm and let's search for Express. Okay, let's click here, and as you can see how popular this Express package is. Okay, and this is how you can create a server using Express. So let's go ahead and copy this command so that we can install and go to the terminal. Let me stop the server for the moment and let me run this command so that I can install Express. Okay, so once it is installed, let me run the server back again and let me go back to my project and let me require that Express package. Okay, and let's get rid of this as well. We're not going to use them. Okay, so let me create a variable const express equals to require express. Okay, so anytime you want to require these packages, you don't need to give them a path like /node modules / anything like that. You don't have to. The core modules and third-party modules you can just require like so. Okay, then let me create another constant and let's call it app, and this app will be the Express itself. Okay, so what I've done here is I have executed the Express app, so it's up and running and it is ready to listen to the incoming request. Now what I can do is, since I have Express, the entire package is available in this app variable, so what I can do is I can access all the properties and methods of this Express package. Let's use get method to listen to the request coming from the browser to the server. Okay, so let's say it is coming on the home route. It could be about, it could be anything else, but let's begin with just the home route. Okay, so this get method takes two arguments. The first argument is the URL. So in our case, this is the default home page. That's the URL. Okay, and the second argument is a callback function. We can use arrow function for that. Okay, this URL comes from the request, and we, based on that request, we give the response. This function takes two arguments, request and response, and based on the request it gives the response. Or if you don't want to analyze the request, that's fine, just give some response. So let's say response.send. Okay, previously, if you remember, we used end to send some text, which is a bit confusing, I would say, but send sounds much better, right? So let's send some text. Hey, what's up? What's up from Express? Okay, so this is the response we would like to send whenever people request this URL. Okay, then what else we can do? Let's go to the official docs here. So what they have done here, so they have required, they have stored the Express in a variable, which is exactly what we have done. We also have written the function, but instead of this regular function, we used arrow function. That is fine, right? And we can start listening to this application on this port number. Okay, so app.listen and give this a port number. So let's do that. App.listen and port number, let's give 3000. That's fine. Okay, so this is much more simpler than the previous one we created, the server using the core static module, right? And it gives you all the functionality you would ever want to build a full-scale application. Okay, this Express is absolutely great. Okay, let me save this file and let's go to the browser and let's refresh, and you can see, hey, what's up from Express. Okay, we are nearly there to start building real application, and I know you have been waiting for that, but in the next few lessons we are going to learn the core Node.js, what Node.js actually is and why it is different than the rest of the technology out there. Okay, so next few lessons are extremely important. They might not be extremely interesting, but extremely important to understand Node.js. Okay, so follow me along in the next few lessons, and they will help you understand this request response cycle as well, right? And then we will be start building our application soon. Okay, see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, you will learn about Node.js event loop. So think of Node.js as a process that never stops, just like this machine. Just think this is not a manual machine, this is an automatic. Okay, so think that this machine is a node process that keeps running, it never stops. Okay, and it's like a flour machine or any machine you imagine that never stops. So you throw rice, if you throw rice, it grinds and give you rice flour, right? So if you throw corn, it grinds and give you corn flour. So think of this, this is a corn here, so once it grinds it, let's imagine that it went halfway through, then you put some more rice on top. Does that mean it will immediately give you rice? No. But it keeps running, that's for sure. And eventually you will get rice as well. So you can throw 100s, 1000s of different events to this node process. Doesn't matter. It will execute one by one in this order. First in, first out. Okay, it does the job and then move on to the next one. But some jobs that might take longer than usual, right? Some jobs like reaching out in the remote server, connecting to the database, that will take some more time. So does that mean it stops, wait for the result and then move on to the next one? No, it doesn't stop. So that part is handled by the callback function. So it starts executing job. If it takes longer than usual, it will leave that responsibility to the callback function, which will eventually return later once the process is done, and instead move to the second job. So while he's doing the second job and third job and so on, the first job that took longer than usual is eventually solved and returned by the callback function. He knows that it has been done, so he executes that and then again continues to execute the rest of the operations, rest of the function. Okay, so that's how event loop works in Node.js. Node.js is a single threaded system, and I'll come back to that later. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't compromise the performance of Node.js because it is based on non-blocking input-output system. Node.js, you will not be throwing the wheats and flowers, you will be throwing events, right? So this is just a theory. In the next lesson, let's get our hands dirty and let's work with the file system and see how it all comes together. All right, I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you. In this lesson, you will program for Node.js event loop just to get a very good understanding of how Node.js works behind the scene. Okay, so let me close this operation here and let me go to my project and let me comment all this out for the moment. Okay, for this example, I would like to bring in one of the core Node.js module, that is fs, file system. Okay, so let me put it in a variable fs and require fs, file system. Okay, so this is the one of the Node.js core module. Now what I would like to do is I would like to create a file here. So I can do it manually or I can do it from here. Touch, let's call it target.txt, a text file. Okay, so the file is here. Now what I would like to do is I would like to watch for these files. Okay, so watch for any changes. So if there are any changes, I will use a callback function to do something with that change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this file system variable and use this watch method that we can use with this module. Okay, so this module has a lot of methods available. One of them is watch. Okay, so this watch method takes two arguments. The first one is the file name and the second one is a callback function. Okay, so let me also create a file. Okay, so let's call it const file name equals to, let me manually give the file name for the moment. Okay, target.txt, which is here. Okay, so we have the file system, we have the file name, and this file system's watch method will take two arguments. First one is the file name and second one is a callback function. Okay, so this callback function, for the moment, let's just write console log. Okay, console log file changed. Okay, this is a dead simple function, but it will give us the insight of Node.js. Okay, so save this file and go to the terminal here and run this process one more time. Let's use node app.js. Okay, so it's running. Now let me make it a bit smaller so that we can see the output here. Okay, so whenever this file changes, as soon as there is a change, it will use this callback function to output this message. Okay, so let me go to this target.txt file and let me hit Command S to save this file. And once I do, you see the file changed is output. Okay, you do it again, you do it again. It works non-stop. It console log the message when it changes, then again waits for the next change. It doesn't stop. It is always waiting. Now if you make a change, then it will console log the message, then again it waits for change. Again, if you make a change, it will console log and then again it waits for change. So it never stops, it never sleeps. Okay, so that is one of the things you need to understand about Node.js. Now in the next lesson, we will go one step further. Okay, so when it is watching for the changes or executing these callback functions, some callbacks takes longer to respond than other ones. So let's see how that works with a very simple example that will help us understand how Node.js single-threaded, non-blocking input-output model works. In this lesson, you will learn about asynchronous programming in Node.js. Okay, so Node.js is single-threaded, non-blocking input-output model. So unlike other programming languages such as PHP or Ruby, they are multi-threaded blocking model. So what that means is if they have more jobs to do, they open more threads because one single thread cannot handle. That's because unlike Node.js, it's non-blocking, however they are blocking. So what I mean by that is if there is a job to do that is going to the remote server, connecting to the database and giving you the result. So that will take some time. That will take maybe a few milliseconds or even a second. So in those languages, the blocking models like PHP or Ruby, until the result is received from that database call, the program is stopped, program is halted, nothing is happening. And that is a problem because there are so many other things that could be running in the application. So in that situation, what they do is they open new threads to handle those other processes, other jobs. However, Node.js has this non-blocking model. In Node.js, if the same thing happened, the database call, that job is taking longer, then Node.js doesn't stop. It doesn't block. Okay, it continues to execute other jobs. And while that is happening behind the scene by the callback function, once they are complete, Node.js knows, because those events, those completed events returned by the callback functions are stacked on top of each other. So those events in the stack will be continuously executed by Node.js and then again wait for other events to handle. Okay, so that's how asynchronous programming works. And these are the few lines I have written here. If it doesn't make sense, don't worry. We're going to write a very small program that will give you a very clear understanding of asynchronous programming, and we will come back to this slide one more time. Okay, so I'm back to my project, and to complement what we just learned in the theory, let's write a simple program here. Now this time, instead of writing watch, I'm going to read file. Okay, so use this read file method that we get with file system. Okay, and this also takes the two arguments. The first argument is the file name itself, so give the file name, and the second argument will be a callback function. Okay, and this time we're going to look into the error handling as well, which is extremely important. If the error is not handled properly, then the Node.js process will halt. Okay, and then our program will exit unexpectedly. Okay, so it is always very important to handle errors in Node.js. So while reading this file, either there will be success or failure, right? So in this callback function, we will be expecting either error or data. So if it failed, we will get error. If it succeeds, then we will get the data. So here we can handle the error. So if error, let's console log error. Okay, otherwise we can console log data. Okay, so if there's error, we see the error, otherwise we get the data. Okay, now go to target.txt and put some random text. I just paste some random text from lorem ipsum. Okay, so once you do that, before we try it in the terminal, I would also like you to write a simple console log. Okay, this is very important, and just write something here. What do we write? So, Node.js async programming. Okay, let me save this file. Now let me ask you this: what do we expect to see in the terminal? Do we expect to see the data and then this console log? Let's see. Let's give it a try. Well, let me quit this running server and let me run it again. Node app.js, and here, in fact, we get the buffer. So what we can do is we can use the data2string method. Okay, and let me go here and run this one more time. Okay, so what you see here is we have the lorem ipsum, this data from the target.txt, but this one comes second. First, we have this console log, Node.js async programming, which we wrote at the end, and then we got our lorem ipsum. Why is that? Why this is not on the top and this one in the bottom? Because that is the way we have written our code, right? First, this function, this method runs, read file, and then the console log runs. However, the output, the result is opposite. This one is executed first, and then this read file has been executed at the end after this one. Node.js takes the event and execute line by line, one by one. However, some events takes longer. So obviously, reading a file system, that takes longer than just console logging, right? Because this one needs the access to the file system, go to the file system, get the file, read the file, all that stuff. whereas this is pretty simple. Okay, so Node.js has this event thrown into this event loop, then again another console log is thrown into the event loop. However, when it was executing, it realized that this one is taking time. What it did is it left the responsibility to this callback function and it went ahead executing other event. So in our case, this one. And by the time it did, it realized that, okay, yeah, I've got the read file done, and this callback method returned the data. Then Node.js said, okay, so you did that, okay, I'll execute that again. So it did that, and then again it is waiting for more events. It is waiting for more work. So you see how it works. Node.js non-blocking asynchronous programming is absolutely incredible. So I'm back to our slide again. So it is asynchronous programming. Node.js is single-threaded non-blocking input-output model. And even though it is a single-threaded, it is efficient because it uses non-blocking event loop. And it keeps the events in a stack. They will be executed one by one without waiting for any of these to complete. Instead, they will be executed and completed as the process is running other callbacks. Okay, so with this, you should have a fairly good understanding of Node.js and how it works with this non-blocking system. In the next lesson, I will show you a small example of synchronous programming as well. Synchronous, which is a blocking model. And you can in fact write synchronous code with Node.js as well, even though you shouldn't be, but it is technically possible. So let's see how that works. Okay, see you in the next lesson. Thank you. Okay, so this code we write in the previous lesson. So this is a synchronous model. So even though we have written this method first and console log later, in reality the console log is executed first and the file system this executed later because it took longer than this one. Okay, but let's rewrite the same code using a synchronous model, blocking model, the model that is used by other programming languages such as PHP, Ruby. Okay, so let's see. So what we can do is we can create a variable data which will read from the file system. Okay, so file system read file, and there is a method called sync. So anytime you come across a method like this in Node.js, that means that is a synchronous, that is for synchronous programming. By default, it is asynchronous, almost everything, but there are certain methods available for synchronous. Okay, they can be useful sometimes when you want to perform certain tasks and you want to make sure that task is done before moving to the next. Okay? So this makes sure it is completed. Until it is completed, nothing else will happen. Okay, you don't want this behavior most of the time, but it is good to know that it's possible. Okay, so using this read file sync method, we give the file name as the first argument. In fact, that is the only argument. We don't give the second argument because this is a synchronous model. In asynchronous model, we would give this to the callback function that would handle this one, and Node.js will continue executing other functions. But because we are performing a synchronous task here, we just assign it to a variable, and once that is complete, until this is complete, nothing else will happen. So once it is complete, we can do console log data to string. Okay, so this code is definitely much more readable and easier. However, this is a blocking code, and to get the benefit of non-blocking model that Node.js offers, obviously we can't be writing like this, but it definitely is easier. Okay, so let's save this file and see what we get. Okay, const data equals to, sorry, this one, const. Okay, let me save this file and let me run this one more time, node app.js, and this time you see, okay, we have the lorem ipsum, we have the read file data first and then asynchronous this console log later, just as expected. Because this is a synchronous model, so it waits. Even if it takes longer, it doesn't care. It waits and it gets the data, it does that, and then it moves to the next one. Whereas previously we had a different result. Previously we had the console log first because that was easier to read, and this file system took longer, so Node.js went ahead and executed this one first and came back and do it later. So this is the stark difference between asynchronous and synchronous. Okay, so this is how we will be writing code in Node.js. So get ready for some callback functions. Okay, and it takes some time. When you are new, it doesn't make sense and you feel like it's a bit too much, but over time you will get used to it and you will love the fact that you can use callback functions to get things done. Okay, and that is the beauty of Node.js, but at the same time it is a little bit complicated, but you'll get used to it, don't worry, and you'll have a lot of fun along the way. All right, let's move on, and we're nearly done with this section, and we will be very soon start writing API with Node.js. See you. I am back one more time, and this time we're going to play with functions a bit. Okay, so let me get rid of this code. We don't need this. Okay, let me get rid of this as well. And as you can see in Node.js, quickly there will be so many callback functions, and it can be hard to manage them. The code becomes complicated to read as well. So we should take functional approach. We should give responsibilities to separate functions. For example, if we get error, let's create a function that will handle the error. Okay, so you will give this error to that function. So if we get the data on success, then you will give this data to another function that will handle the whatever it has to be done. It has to be console logged or something else, whatever, doesn't matter. Just distribute the responsibilities to different functions. Okay, a bit of a functional approach. Okay, so what we can do here is we can clearly see that we can create two more methods. One for console logging the errors, and another one is for console logging the data. Okay, so what we can do is we can create two methods here. Const error handler, let's call it, and it will get the error as an argument. Okay, and it can console log error. Okay, so that is one method. We can create another method as well, and this we can call it data handler, and this one will handle the data to string. Okay, so this will console log the data. And as you can see, I have written a one-liner. You could also do it this way as well. Okay, so if you like this way, it is perfectly fine, but because this is very simple function, we can all do it in one line. Okay, so we have these two methods. Now we can use them. So if there is error, we can use this method and pass the error. Okay, so if statement also, if you have one line, you can just get rid of this and you can just write in one line. You don't need the return. Okay, however, if we get the data, if it is success, then we can give this data to this data handler method. Okay, give the data to this one, and we don't need to use toString here because it is being used here. Okay, so we have this one method read file. Now it utilizes two other methods. One is for error handling, one is for data handling, and we use them here to simplify our code, and this is a bit of a functional approach. Okay, and it is beautiful. Okay, so let's save this file, go to the terminal, and let's see what we get here. So node app.js, and as you can see, we've got an error here. Console log data is not defined. Okay, sorry, so it has to be data. Let's go and run it one more time. Perfect. So we have the console log first, and then we have the read file results later because it took longer, so it comes second, this comes first. Beautiful, right? In my personal experience, there are few secrets of understanding Node.js. If you don't understand those secrets, then you might never fully understand Node.js, and that's a bit of a shame. Okay, but these secrets are, they're not really secrets. Okay, so these are the few things I would like you to keep in mind. Okay, whenever you are not feeling super comfortable with Node.js, maybe you want to check some of these topics and get full understanding of those topics, because even though they might include a lot of theories, they really help you understand Node.js. And once you understand these concepts, writing code with Node.js is pretty easy. Okay, so JavaScript environment in the browser and in the server with Node.js, there are slight differences. However, understanding the both environment helps with each other to better understand, right? And the next concept is understanding functions very well as callback functions and what is their duties and responsibilities and how they help Node.js work the way it works. Okay, and the event loop, how it continuously runs and how smart it is to get things done. So that is the event loop. And asynchronous, non-blocking way of doing things versus the blocking way of doing things, and why Node.js is asynchronous and why that is the core strength of Node.js. Okay, so all these topics we went through. Now, if you are still feeling a bit shaky, that's fine. We learn a lot of things when we actually start building applications as well. So even if you have at least some basic understanding of all these topics, which I have covered so far, then you are good to go ahead and start building API with Node.js. If you are completely lost in those topics, then I recommend you to go one more time and go through those lessons. They will take maximum 1 hour or so, right? It's not much of a big deal. So just watch them one more time if you are still feeling very uncomfortable. However, if you've understood them fairly well, then you will be having absolutely great time building API with Node.js. See you. Hello and welcome back. Now in this section we're going to start building the real API with Node.js. So let's begin by building a fresh new project. So open up your terminal window, navigate to the directory where you want to create this project. Let me navigate to this folder, Node React, okay? And then here I'm going to create a fresh project, okay? So make directory and give it a name. Let's call it Node API. And let's get inside this project, cd node API. And the first thing you want to do is initialize this project with a package.json file so that we can use npm packages. Okay, so let's begin by running this npm init command, and it will ask you a couple of questions. So let's go through them. So package name, and let's accept the default. So just hit enter. Version, hit enter. Description, Node.js API. Okay. Entry point, index.js. Okay, that's fine. We can change it later. Just hit enter. Enter. Keywords, Node API. Okay. Author, give it a name. License, just enter. Is this okay? Just hit enter. Okay, so that should have created a package.json file. Yes, there is. So let me open this project with my text editor. Okay, so all those information we entered are here. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is create a server, right? Now, instead of using the Node.js core HTTP module to build your own server, we can take benefit of the existing packages. And I'm talking about Express, the most popular framework for building any Node.js applications. Okay, so let's begin by installing Express. So npm install Express. Okay, now it has created this node modules folder as well, and it has Express and all other dependencies that are necessary for the Express package. Okay, the first thing you want to do is create a server, and we can use Express to build our own server, right? So in the package.json, we have specified that we will be using index.js. Let's change this to app.js. Okay, and let's create this file. Okay, so touch app.js. Okay, so here the first thing you want to do is import Express so that we can use it. All right, so const Express equals to require Express, so require the Express package. Then we create our app, so let's call it app equals to Express. We invoke the Express. Okay, so we have the Express application ready to use, and the first thing you want to do is receive a request like from the browser, right? And then you want to respond. Okay, so let's imagine that someone is trying to get access to the home route. Okay, so let's begin with the get method. Okay, so app, you can use get method with the Express app. Okay, and this will take two arguments. The first one is the URL, so this could be about or anything like that, but for the moment just make it just a home page. Okay, so /, and then the second will be a callback function. Okay, so this function will take request and response, and it will respond with information, right? So in this case, we just want to send some text so that we can see that it is working. Okay, so what I can do is I can use this response send method, and I want to send a simple message like hello world from Node.js. Okay, so we have our Express app. We are handling the get request. Any request comes to this /URL, we are responding with this message. Okay, now to start listening to this application, we can use this listen method and give it a port number. We can write a port number directly here. Let's listen to port 8080. Okay, save this file and go to the browser, and before you're going to the browser, make sure you go to the terminal and run this command node app.js. Okay, it's listening now. If you go here, give it a refresh. Okay, it's 8080. Okay, hello world from Node.js. Perfect. Now you can also create a constant called port and write the port number there. Okay, and here listen to the port. This can also take two arguments. The first argument is the port number, and second argument you can use callback function. Okay, so this function will simply say it doesn't take any argument, it just returns a console log. And we can say something like use backticks, okay, so that we can embed variables, and we can say a Node.js API is listening on port, and then we can embed the variable like so, $ and curly braces, and within that we can write our variable. Okay, port like that. Okay, now if you go here, and again we have to restart the server, which is not very ideal. So what we can do is we can install nodemon for this one. So let's quickly do that. npm I nodemon. Okay, so that's done. Now it is here, you can see. So what we can do is we can use nodemon. So let's change the script to dev. Okay, and when we run that command npm run dev, we want to run nodemon app.js. Okay, so nodemon will keep track of any changes and restart the server, so we don't have to do it manually. Okay, now we can go here in the terminal and run npm run dev. Okay, so nodemon is starting, and as you can see in the console as well, this message here you can see it's running on port. Okay, and if you go here, obviously it works. Okay, so this is our very first code for building this beautiful Node.js API. Okay, so let's continue in the next lesson. Thank you. When you're building a real world project, you will need to separate your code from the very beginning. You need to be organized, right? So you can't write everything in one file. For example, in our case, routes, these routes, they're going to be a lot of them. So we will be writing a lot of routes. So it doesn't make sense to write everything here. So let's move this to a different folder and we will export, import, and see how that works. Okay. So the first thing, you want to go and create a directory there. I'm going to open a new terminal window. I'll leave it running. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm still inside this project and I'm going to make a directory for routes. Okay. And inside that, I'm going to create a file called post.js. Okay. So these routes will be responsible for all the post related routes. Okay. So touch routes / post.js. Okay, you could also just manually right click and create folder and files. Okay, I just like using terminal. Okay, so we have routes folder, we have post.js file, and here we can move this route here. We can still use this app.get method here. We just want to move this method, this callback function. Okay, so just copy that. Okay, leave it as it is, app.get / okay, just leave it as it is and then move the code here, this function. Okay, so callback function. So we can give it a name to this one, const, let's call it get posts. Later this route will be responsible for giving all the posts to the front end, right? Module.exports. Okay, and we can export like this as well, obviously. Okay, this way we can export this method here and then we can use here. So what we can do is bring in routes. Okay, so const post routes equals to require routes post. Okay, you don't need to write .js, just give it a file name. Okay, and you can call it anything you like, but I like to call it like this, prefixed with the name and the route, so it makes sense. Okay, now here previously we had the callback function. Now that function has moved to this file and we are exporting, we can easily use that here using post routes dot get posts, right? Okay, so this will still return the same text. Okay, so all we did is we extracted the method from here to a separate file, export from there, import here, and use here. Okay, now if you go, this should still work. Okay, this can't be connected, something happened here. Cannot find module routes.post. Okay, because this is not Node.js core module or third-party module, this is our own module, so we need to prefix with the path name. Okay, so this is in the same directory inside this folder, so this way you can load this file. Perfect. Now let's go here and give it a refresh and we still see that. Beautiful. So we learned how to organize code. Now there is a better way as well. Instead of creating this module export, we can directly export, right? So get rid of the const exports dot. Okay, so this is nice and easy, very simple to use, easy to understand, right? Okay, so this way also we can simplify our code. Now we can go one step further and use object destructuring to even simplify our code. So instead of requiring like so, what we can do is we can just destructure what we want from that file. Later on this file you might have 10 different exports, 10 different methods. Okay, but you might not use all of them. So what you can do is you can just import the one you need. Okay, so here using this object destructure, you just give the method name that you want to require from this route. Okay, and then you can just use that here. Okay, it's much more simpler and very much readable as well. Okay, so save this file, and this is the preferred way I like to work. Okay, so make sure everything is working. Refresh. Yep, perfectly fine. Now before I end this lesson, I would like to use one more package called Morgan, and what that does is that helps you see in the console the route path, so from which route you're getting requests. Okay, so over time that becomes really helpful. So let's install that. Npm install Morgan, and you can obviously go to the npm and read more about this package, but we're going to use it. It's really easy, nice and easy, and it works as a middleware. Okay, this is another concept, and we will be diving deep into middleware stuff, but let's begin with a very simple example using Morgan. Okay, so I previously already wrote this one. Now that's a bit of a spoiler, but const Morgan equals to require Morgan, and we're going to use that here. Okay, so the way we're going to use this middleware is using this use method. Okay, and simply pass in whatever you want to use as a middleware, and you will get more information about middlewares later, but for the moment just understand that middleware executes in the middle. Something is happening, something is started, and something will end, but in between you want to do something. Okay, you want to apply authentication, or you want to perform some validation or something like that, something you want to push yourself into in the middle and do something done in the middle. Okay, so in that situation you use middleware. So when it's happening, we're getting the request, we are responding, all that is happening. In between you want to log some message. Okay, that is the whole point of we trying to use this middleware, and this is the one we're going to use. Okay, so let's use this Morgan, and there is an option called dev that you can pass to Morgan, and when you are in the development mode you see what's happening, what routes you're getting the request from. Okay, so this is really helpful. So here, let me stop the server and restart one more time to make sure everything works. Okay, now everything is same, it's just the nodemon running, nothing new. But if you go to the browser and give it a refresh, okay, give it a refresh one more time, you come here and you see this message is logged, and this is because of the Morgan package we just used. So it is giving us the information. It is saying that we got the get request to this route / okay, and how long it took to respond, a 3 point something millisecond. Okay, so this becomes really handy later as we continue to grow our application. Okay, so this is how you apply middleware. Now let's go one step further to get really good understanding of middleware. Middleware is something you can even write on your own. You can use third-party modules and use them as a middleware. You know, they are a bit flexible. Okay, so let me just quickly create a sample of middleware. Okay, so let me call it const my own middleware. Okay, and this is just using callback function. I'm going to use console log. Just write something middleware applied. Okay, just so that we can see how it works. And here what I can do is I can just apply this middleware that I just created. So app.use using the use method, and I'm going to use my own middleware. Okay, so we just created our own middleware and apply here. Now let's see how it works. So if you go here, give it a refresh, come back here, and you see middleware applied. Okay, but we have a problem here. As you can see, it is just into trouble. Something's happening behind the scenes, something's not quite right. Okay, so what is happening is we use the middleware, but our app is stuck into this console log, into this middleware. It is not moving on. Node.js, as you know from the previous section, it is a running process. It is the event loop. So what happened is we process this middleware, but this middleware is stuck. It's not passing the process to go further. The way we can fix that is, let's imagine that it is taking the request, it is taking the response, and it will pass the responsibility. Once it is done, whatever it is doing, once it is finished with that, it needs to pass to the next. Okay, that way our application will continue to the next phase. Otherwise, it will stuck in this middleware. It is always important because Node.js is a process, it's a event loop. So we apply some middleware, but we need to make sure that it moves on to the next phase. Okay, now that we have applied this should work. Now we go and let me just restart just to make sure everything will work. Okay, so this is the regular nodemon log here. Now let me refresh one more time. Nothing is happening, nothing is lagging, everything is running smoothly. And you come back to the console and you see we have the Morgan logs here, and as well as our own middleware. And because our middleware was not doing anything else other than console logging, we always see that. Okay, so every time our middleware has been executed as well as the Morgan. Okay, so this must give you a very good understanding of what middleware is, what they do, and why do we need to use them. Now imagine later on when we apply authentication, we want to protect some routes. For example, get post, we want to protect some routes. Okay, so imagine this is our authentication. So we could apply our authentication there. That way, when user goes there and if they are not authenticated, they will be redirected to a login page or whatever, right? So that's how middleware works. Okay, so let me get rid of this. It was just to demonstrate the middleware concept to you. Okay, now let's continue further building this beautiful Node.js application and learning all the basics along the way. All right, I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you. So far, our application is handling only one route, that is /. So any request coming from the / is handled by this get post method, which is of course in the routes folder in this post file. Okay, so here, so the get post, any request coming to the / is given this response. Okay, but in real application, there is a lot more to be done. Maybe you need to go to the database, get the exact post, and give that back to the user, right? So it could be very simple to very complicated. What we need to do is we need to extract this logic from this routes folder to a different folder. So any request comes here, we give that responsibility to a different section of our application, and that is controllers. So just like we have the routes file, routes folder, and it has files, in a similar way we're going to have another folder called controllers, and controllers also will have a similar structure like post.js. So any post request we want to handle, we will give that responsibility to the controller instead of trying to handle everything within the routes. So let's go ahead and create this controllers folder. Okay, so you can do that manually or you can do from command line. I'm going to do from here, make directory controllers. Okay, and I'm going to create a file within the controllers, touch/controllers, and let's call it post.js. So any post related request we will pass to this controllers post.js file. Okay, and here in a similar way we did with routes. In fact, we can even copy this. Okay, just to make things easier, let's copy and let's paste here. So we export get post. We can change this or we can leave it as it is. That's fine. Okay, so what we can do is we can send the same response. Okay, so this is happening now in the controllers. Okay, so we don't have to do it inside the routes. Now all we have to do is point it to the controller. So let's first bring in the controller. Okay, so what we can do is we can write it in a variable. Let's call it const, let's call it post controller equals to require. And what we want to require, we want to require the controllers, this file. So we need to go one step up in the directory. So one step up because we are inside the route. So one step up, then we go to the controllers post. Okay, so this way we can access the methods from this post controller. Okay, and here what we're going to do is we're going to use, but this is not exactly going to work like that. So what we need to do is we need to bring in the express as well, because we're going to use the express apps router method. Okay, the entire application we have built based on the express, right? We have stored in app variable and everything is happening there. So to use those routes we can use express here. So const express equals to require express. The reason we are requiring express is we want to use the express router. Okay, so here let's create a variable called router equals to express router, and you invoke like so. Okay, and this method is actually has to be a capital router. Okay, it's not a small r, it's a capital R. Okay, so this way we have access to the express router. Now this entire routes file can be used as a middleware into our application. Okay, now with that what we can do is we can use, let's write here router.get. Okay, so previously we have done this get, the app.get directly here, but we're going to change that because now this get request will be handled by the express router. Okay, so router.get, so what do we want to get? We want to get the /, okay, and then anything we get here we want to hand that over to the controller, so controller will take care of it. Okay, so this is post controller, and inside post controller we have this method that will handle. Okay, beautiful. Okay, let's get rid of this now, and instead what we can do now is module.exports equals to router. Okay, so this way we require express so that we can use express router, and using the express router, this get, post or any route handling we can do directly from this routes. Okay, so when we get request to the /, we give that responsibility to this controller get post method, and that will do whatever it needs to be done, and at the moment it is just giving the simple message. Okay, so this way we have extracted the logic from the routes to controllers. Okay, you see how we are building this pattern of building application. This is beautiful. Okay, now with this there is one more thing we need to do. We need to go back to the app.js because we are handling the get directly here. So here this will be use instead, it's not get anymore, because now this route works as a middleware. Okay, previously we were handling the route request like so using the get, but now that we are handling that using the express router in the routes folder, what we do is we use that as a middleware. So we can change this to post routes. Okay, so we're not just destructuring one method, we need the entire routes here. Okay, so this way these post routes works as a middleware. Okay, so any request we get here on the / will be passed to the post routes, and then post route will give that to the controller, and that is how our application will continue to work. Okay, so let's give it a try to make sure everything is working. Okay, so looks like it is. Let me restart one more time. Okay, let's go here. Beautiful. Since we are building API, we don't want to respond plain text like so. We want to respond in a JSON format, right? So if you're new to JSON format, don't worry. Over the time, you will be perfectly comfortable working with the JSONs. Okay, but for now, let's just return some JSON response. So here in the controller get post method, what I'm going to do is I'm going to respond instead of send, I will say JSON. Okay, so JSON format is just like object. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this object syntax, and then maybe we will written some post. Okay, so let me put it right here. So let's say posts. Okay, let's written couple of posts, just hardcore. Okay, let's create an array. Okay, so inside array let's create two objects for two posts. Okay, so the first one will have title. Okay, first post. Okay, and let's create another post object, and this one will have second post. Okay, so we have two posts, they have only title. Okay, so that's our post, and we are giving this JSON response. Okay, now if you go to the browser and give it a refresh, you see we got the JSON format. Okay, so we have the posts, and each post have the title, right? Beautiful. And here I'm using this Chrome plugin for JSON view. If you don't have this plugin, you might see it differently, but either way you might see it like so, but either way you get the JSON response. And I recommend you to install this plugin. Just search for Google extension JSON. Okay, let me show you. Actually, let me go to settings, let me see my plugins here, extensions. Okay, and the one I'm using is JSON viewer. So download and install to your Google Chrome, and then you will be able to see this beautiful JSON format. Okay, normally when you are building API, you don't actually use browsers like so. So you can read the GET request like so, but normally it doesn't work well for doing other stuff. Okay, so there is a tool called Postman that is really handy when you're building API, because API is just the backend. You need the front-end application, and at the moment we don't have the front-end application built with React. Okay, so we can use Postman when we're building this API. Okay, so search for Postman. It's free to use. Okay, go there and install it in your computer if you don't already have so. Okay, I have already downloaded here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Postman. So let me close. It will ask you for sign in. That is not mandatory, so you can skip. Okay, and we can make requests from here just like we did in the URL. So currently our backend is localhost 8080, right? So that is the URL. You paste that here, and you can choose a lot of these options. You have the flexibility. So currently we are only working with the get method. Okay, we're not working with post, put, patch, delete, anything. Okay, so make sure it is on get. Okay, you have the URL and send. Okay, and as you can see, we get the post response. Okay, which is obviously expected. Okay, so Postman we will be using throughout this course, so make sure you have it here. And with this, we are in a good position to move ahead. Okay, we have organized our project in a nice way. We have routes, we have controllers. Now in the next lesson, maybe we can go ahead and add database. So let's continue in the next lesson. Thank you. In this lesson, you will learn to use database with Node.js, and the database of our choice is MongoDB. MongoDB is a popular choice for any Node.js applications. Once we have database, we will be able to create new posts and save them in the database. Then we can retrieve those saved posts from database and return back to the users. So we're going to begin with MongoDB, and there are two ways you can begin with MongoDB. The first way, you can download MongoDB based on your operating system, whether Windows or Mac, and then you can use another client like Robo3T, which will give you the visual representation of the database. Okay, or we can use this online service called MLab. if you are completely new to MongoDB, then I recommend using mlab. It's nice and easy. But if you have some experience and you have MongoDB installed in your local computer already, then obviously feel free to use that. Okay, so let's begin with mlab. So go ahead and sign up if you haven't done so. Then you can log in with your username and password. Okay, so as you can see here, I already have two deployments. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to create a new one, and don't click on the environment. Okay, there's one button for environment, create new. Don't worry about this one, just go here on the MongoDB deployment and create a new one. Okay, and choose a cloud provider. We can choose Amazon, that's fine, and choose the sandbox, which is free to use up to 0.5 GB. Okay, let's click here. Okay, and then click continue here, and it doesn't really matter, choose the one nearest to you. Let's choose US. Okay, let's continue, and the database name. So what you can do is you can use Node API, just give any name you like. Okay, and submit order. Okay, just click here. So it has been created. This is the new one. Okay, now let's click here, and this is the URL we will be using. Okay, so you need to put your username here, the one you used to sign in, and the password. Okay, so we'll copy this URL and go back to our project, and here, instead of writing everything here in our app file, what we're going to do is we're going to use .env file. Okay, so go ahead and create a new file, .env, and here let's create our first variable. Let's call it Mongo URI. Okay, not URL, URI equals to the URL that we copied from mlab. Okay, it's pasted here. So here, database user and database password we need to replace with our actual username and password. So my username is Kalrat and password I'm going to share with all of you. All right, password Jingle8, just my name. Okay, and this is the actual URI for our MongoDB database. Beautiful. Now let's create one more environment variable. Let's call it port. Let's make it capital letter. Port equals to, let's call it 8080. Okay, let's save it, and let's use this port as well in our app.js. But how do we load these environment variables to any of our files? You can't refer to them directly here. So what we need is we need a package. We need to use one of the npm packages that is called .env that will help us access these environment variables in any of our files. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's install this package. So let me install npm i.env. Okay. Okay, so once that's done, we can require that. So this is our main file here, app.js. Let's require const.env equals to require.env. Then to use this .env, we need to invoke the config method. Okay, so .env.config, we need to invoke like this. Then we can access any of the environment variables. Okay. Now let's begin with port. Okay, so we have mentioned the port number here in .env, so we can refer to the env for that. Okay, so here const port equals to process.env .port. Okay, that is the variable. If that is not available, then we just give default value 8080. Okay, so as long as it is available in the env file, then we will take from there. If not, we give them the default value. Okay, so this is helpful when you deploy your application to the production. In the production environment, you will set a different port number here. So that way, your application will continue to work smoothly. Okay, you don't have to go into these files and manually change inside. Okay, so that's the whole point. Now, if you're confused about process, make sure to check out the previous section. I have explained everything in detail. Let me finish connecting to the database as well. So to work with database, there is a package called Mongoose, which is extremely popular. Okay, so let's go ahead and install that package. So npm install Mongoose. Okay, now while it's happening, let's go to our app.js and let's import that. Okay, so const Mongoose equals to require Mongoose. Okay, then we can configure the database. Okay, so what we can do is Mongoose, and Mongoose gives us this method called connect. So to connect to the database, we need to give the URL. Okay, so the URL will be process.env.mongo URI. Okay, so that is the name, Mongo URI, and this is the URL. Okay, then this is a promise-based library, so we can use then and catch block. Okay, so then takes a function as an argument. Okay, we use arrow function here. So what we're going to do is, if it is successful, we're going to console log, and because it's one line statement, I don't need the curly brace, so let me get rid of that, and let's write console log db connected. Okay, then we also can use another method, mongoose.connection.on. Now this will give us if there is some error. Okay, on error, we use again the arrow function here. Okay, so if we get error, we console log, let's use backticks, so db connection error message. Okay, so this way we connect to the database. If there is an error, then we would like to know about that as well, right? So with this, if we go to our terminal, okay, it is running, and you can see the database connected, database connection error, authentication failed. Okay, something happened there. Let me stop and restart. Npm run dev. So we are getting this authentication failed error. That's because here in mlab, previously we took this URL to connect to the database, but we didn't create a user for this database. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to actually create a user particularly for the given database. Okay, so let's click on the user here, click here, and then on your right side you have this add database user. Let's click on that, and here you create a new user specific for this database. So database username, I'm going to use the same, the one I did earlier. Database password, let's use the one I did. Okay, I'm going to keep it same. Maybe I'll change later. Okay. Okay, so that seems fine. Okay, let me refresh this page one more time. Okay, so we've got this database URL, we've got the database user as well. Perfect. Okay, so now I took the same name and same password for the database user. Okay, so if it did something different, you need to update your env file, otherwise you should be fine. So go back to your terminal, stop it, and restart one more time, and this time we get db connected. There is no more error. Let me zoom a little bit to make it a bit bigger. Okay, so you see here, so deprecation warning, current URL string parser is deprected. To get rid of this deprecation warning, you can see here that they say use the new parser with this option, use new URL parser to true. So copy this and then go back to app.js, and to connect method, not only that we give the URI, we also pass this option. Okay, so this will say that use new URL parser to true. Okay, so with this, if we go back, this deprecation warning is gone. That means we are ready to start using MongoDB in our Node.js application. So let's continue further and let's explore what else we can do to get going and start building this awesome API with Node.js. See you in the next lesson. Thank you. Let me finish connecting to the database as well. So to work with the database, there is a package called Mongoose, which is extremely popular. Okay, so let's go ahead and install that package. So npm install Mongoose. Okay, now while it's happening, let's go to our app.js and let's import that. Okay, so const Mongoose equals to require Mongoose. Okay, then we can configure the database. Okay, so what we can do is Mongoose, and Mongoose gives us this method called connect. So to connect to the database, we need to give the URL. Okay, so the URL will be process.env.mongo URI. Okay, so that is the name, Mongo URI, and this is the URL. Okay, then this is a promise-based library, so we can use then and catch block. Okay, so then takes a function as an argument. Okay, we use arrow function here. So what we're going to do is, if it is successful, we're going to console log, and because it's one line statement, I don't need the curly brace, so let me get rid of that and let's write console log db connected. Okay, then we also can use another method, mongoose.connection.on. now this will give us if there is some error. Okay, on error, we use again the arrow function here. Okay, so if we get error, we console log, let's use backticks, so db connection error message. Okay, so this way we connect to the database. If there is an error, then we would like to know about that as well, right? So with this, if we go to our terminal, okay, it is running, and you can see the database connected, database connection error, authentication failed. Okay, something happened there. Let me stop and restart. npm run dev. So we are getting this authentication failed error. That's because here in mlab, previously we took this URL to connect to the database, but we didn't create a user for this database. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to actually create a user particularly for the given database. Okay, so let's click on the user here, click here, and then on your right side you have this add database user. Let's click on that, and here you create a new user specific for this database. So database username, I'm going to use the same, the one I did earlier. Color database password, let's use the one I did. Okay, I'm going to keep it same. Maybe I'll change later. Okay. Okay, so that seems fine. Okay, let me refresh this page one more time. Okay, so we've got this database URL, we've got the database user as well. Perfect. Okay, so now I took the same name and same password for the database user. Okay, so if it did something different, you need to update your env file, otherwise you should be fine. So go back to your terminal, stop it and restart one more time, and this time we get db connected. There is no more error. Let me zoom a little bit to make it a bit bigger. Okay, so you see here, so deprecation warning, current URL string parser is deprected. To get rid of this deprecation warning, you can see here that they say use the new parser with this option, use new URL parser to true. So copy this and then go back to app.js, and to connect method, not only that we give the URI, we also pass this option. Okay, so this will say that use new URL parser to true. Okay, so with this, if we go back, this deprecation warning is gone. That means we are ready to start using MongoDB in our Node.js application. Let me show you one more option, that is if you used the local installation of MongoDB, okay, then you can use the URI something like this. Okay, so MongoDB ://localhost/ the name of your database. Okay, so this could go in your env file. Instead of that, you could have this, but since we are using mlab, let's continue to use this, but I'll leave it here. Maybe later I can show you how to use it locally as well. So let's continue further and let's explore what else we can do to get going and start building this awesome API with Node.js. See you in the next lesson. Thank you. In the last lesson, we set up database. Now in this lesson, we're going to create our very first post. Okay. Now when we create a new post, we want to make sure that the post has title and post has body. Okay. Now, how do we make sure that we have these things? And if the user is not providing title or body, or they're sending empty title or something like that, then we want to give them some kind of alert, some kind of message that no, title is required. And maybe we can even go one step further and say title has to be minimum this many characters long and maximum this many. So we need to create a model. Okay, so we have created routes, we have created controllers. Now the third and the last part of building the real application is following this pattern. Okay, routes, controllers, and models. So models will basically work like they help you communicate with a database. For example, in your database, you might have posts, you might have users collection, you might have post collection. So these models will help you communicate with those particular collections. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this models folder. In the root directory, let me use terminal, make directory models. Okay, inside models we create post.js file, touch models/post.js. Okay, so let's go there, models post, and here first thing we're going to import mongoose. Okay, so const mongoose equals to require mongoose, and then we're going to create a new schema. Okay, so that's how we define how our post model should look like. Okay, so we can create post schema, and the way we can do that is by using the new keyword mongoose.schema. So make sure it's a capital S. Okay, so this is a method. Okay, so we pass the object to this method like so, and here we define what we want. We want title, right, and comma separate we want body. To create a post we need at least these two fields, title and body. Okay, so title, what do we want? We want it to be the type of string. Okay, we want it to be required, and we can also give some message here. So if it is not sent by the user, they will be given this error message, which will be really helpful for validation, server-side validation. Okay, so required title is required, and we can also define the length. Let's say we want to have a minimum length of certain characters. Okay, so minimum length, let's say 4. Okay, and max length, let's say 150. Okay, so this is for the title, and it's going to be similar for body as well. Okay, so body also will be string. This one's going to be body. Minimum length, let's leave it at 4, that's fine, and maximum length, let's make it 2000. Okay, so this is our post schema. To create a post, we need to meet these requirements. We need to have title and body. They have to be the type of string. If they are not sent, then they will be required. They will get this error message, all that stuff. Really good. Now we need to export this model so that we can use when we create new post in the controller, right? So let's do that using the module.exports again, and we pass mongoose.model. Using this mongoose model method, we create a model. Okay, so we call it post with the capital P. Okay, so that is the convention, and second argument is the schema. Okay, model name and the schema. Okay, so this has been exported from here. Now we can require this in our controller to create a new post. So let's go to our controllers, and here we already have the get post method. Let's create a new method to create a post. Okay, so exports, let's call it create post equals to function similar to what we did here. So it's going to take request and response, and we're going to create a new post. Now the way we can create a new post is based on the information sent to us from the front end, right? So that will come to us by a request. Okay, so what we can do is we can create a new post constant that will be a new post. So we need to import the post model. Okay, just the one we just created here, we need to import that. So we can here on top we can import that. So let's call it const post capital P, okay, equals to require, and we need to go one step up to models post. Okay, from there we can bring the post, and then we create a new post like so using the new operator, new post. And how do we create a new post? We need to give the title and body, right? So we can get that hopefully from request body. Okay, and you will see how it works, how we send this information from the front end. Okay, so from the postman we will use, and you will see how it works. Okay, we can even actually console log before we even create a new post and save in the database. Let's see the information how we get. Okay, so console log creating post. Let's just write down so it's easy to read. Okay, post. So this post will be coming from the request body. Okay, now we need to also make sure that we have the route to create a new post. Okay, currently we have only one route that will give the posts, that will give these two tiny posts, right? So we need to add another route here. So let's copy paste here. Now this time it's going to be a post method, because from the front end we are going to post to the back end, and all we're going to do here is save in the database. Okay, so this is going to be a post method. Unlike get, this is going to be post, and we can give some URL. Let's call it post. Okay, it makes sense because we're creating a new post, so let's call it post. Okay, so this one's going to be now create post. Okay, so make sure it is right, create post, this new method. Okay, so this is our post controller. Now you could obviously extract only these methods here like so. Okay, like so, but let me leave it as it is, but feel free to use it like so if you feel like it. Okay, okay, so we have the create post route, we have the controller, we have the model. That means we are ready to create a new post. Let's give it a try. Let's go to the terminal first, make sure our application is running. So npm run dev, let's run it. Okay, everything is fine. Let's go to postman and let's give it a try. First, let's make a get request. We should see this post. Okay, that's fine. Now we want to create a new post. Okay, so the URL is slash post, right? That's the one we create. In the routes, just post, yep. Okay, so to create a new post, we need to send. What do we need to send? First thing, we need to make sure that it is a post method, not get. Okay, change that to post. Let's go to body. Okay, and from all these options, let's go to raw. Click here, and when you click, you get this option. Click here and choose JSON, application JSON. Okay, so that is the type we need. Now we can create a JSON format here to submit a new data. So the title, okay, this is new post, okay, and it's body, this is body for my new post, okay, something like that. Okay, so this way we should be able to create a new post. We are sending the title and body. Okay, so this is going as a request body. You see that? That's why we created our controller here, and we created a post based on the request body. Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, we're sending as a request body. Okay, and even in the headers, you can come here. Okay, and then you can type content type like so, which I already have here. So let me get rid of this. So make sure you have the content type set to application JSON. That is going in the headers from the request, and the body of the request will have this information, title and body. Okay, now let's give it a try. Let's hit send. Okay, you don't see anything here because we're not responding with anything. We're not giving the JSON as a response. However, we should see a new post here. You can see here creating post, and we got the ID. Now this is due to the MongoDB. Anything you create, they give the unique identifier automatically. Okay, because if you go to the controller here, we are console logging the post, which is a new instance of the post. Okay, Mongo's post model, it's a new instance. So instead, let's give it a try. Let's try request body. Okay, because we want to see what we get in the request body, right? Do we get the title and body? Let's have a look. Okay, change this to request body and come here and try it one more time. Let's send it. Okay, so it will say loading because we're not responding any JSON. That's fine. Let's come here. Okay, and you see creating post is undefined. Why is that? We send the title and body from here as a request. Like this is the header, request header, content type, application JSON, and this is the body we send, right? Title and body. What we're getting undefined, and that's because Express by itself, it doesn't parse the request body. Okay, so that's why there is a very popular package called body parser. Okay, and every Express application you start, people normally use that, they install, but I wanted to wait for this time because I wanted to show you why you need to use body parser. Okay, so this is the reason you need to use body parser, because without that we don't get the body parsed. So we are sending the request body, but that information is not being parsed. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to install that package. Okay, so let me stop the server and let me install npm install body parser. Okay, so while that's happening, let's go to app.js and let's require this one. Okay, so const body parser equal to require body parser. Now we can use this as a middleware. Okay, so app.use body parser, and this one comes with this JSON method that will format the JSON. Okay, so any incoming request has the body, request body, that will be passed to the JSON format. Beautiful, that's all we need. Okay, let's save this file and let's run our development server once again. Okay, now what do we have here in the controller? We are console logging the request body. Let's see if we get the title and body this time. Okay, let's send one more time. Let's go to the console, and great, Finally, we got the request body that is parsed, and as you can see, it has been parsed in JSON format, and we have the title and body. Beautiful. Now we can go ahead, create a new post, save in the database. Let's do that quickly. It's been quite long, but let's do it. It is exciting, isn't it? So what we can do is, let me just comment the console log out now. So we are creating a new post, okay, that will automatically assign the new ID in the MongoDB. Okay, so what we can do now is we can say post dot save, use this method. But in Node.js, you always have to think about handling errors. Okay, so when you're trying to save the post, two things will happen. Okay, so use the function here. Okay, so two things will happen. One will be error, one will be result, or error or success. Okay, so we always need to handle if there was an error. If error, we would like to, let's say, give some kind of JSON response. Okay, so return the response with status code. Okay, so these are the HTTP codes. Now if you go to Postman, when you make a GET request, let me make quickly a GET request here. Okay, send, we got the successful response, and you see the status 200 we got. Okay, so there are sorts of status code used in HTTP communication. Okay, so 200 means, okay, sometimes you might see 404, that means page not found. So when we're building an API, we need to make sure that we give the right status code. Okay, so if there is error, we want to give this status code of 400 error. Okay, then we also want to give some kind of a JSON response. Okay, so error, so anything goes wrong, we give the error response. Okay, so if that's not the case, if it was successful, then what do we want to do? We want to give the response at this time as well, but this time it's going to be 200 success status code. Okay, and the JSON response, let's say message. We can even give message, but it doesn't make sense, so let's actually give the actual post, the one that was just created. Okay, so this way we can create a new post, we can save the post, and we also make sure that we check if there is error, we console log, we give the JSON response with the error message. Okay, but if it was successful, then we give the JSON response with the actual post that was created. Okay, with this, let's save this file. Let's go here and try one more time. Make it a post method. Let's make the post to the correct route here. Headers, we have content type application JSON. Body, we have these title and body. Beautiful, we're ready to go. Let's hit send. Okay, now we got the response because we are giving the JSON response, and this is the actual post we just created. Beautiful. Okay, now not only here, we should see this in the database as well. So let me give it a refresh, and as you can see, collections, we have one post collection. Okay, let's click here, and as you can see, that document is here, the title and body. Okay, so congratulations, you have successfully created your very first post. Okay, now this lesson has been very long, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm sure you understand quite a lot, and it is exciting. From now on, it gets more and more exciting. All right, so this is it for this lesson. Let's move on to the next lesson and do more cool stuff. All right, I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you. In the last lesson, you learned how to create a new post. Okay, now in this lesson, let's work on the validation. For example, let's say we tried to create a post with, let's say, only two letters. Okay, because if you remember, if you go to post model here, we have applied this schema, which requires the title to be minimum 4 characters long, right? So let's see if that works. Okay, so if you try to create a new post with only 2 letters there, let's see what happens. First, let's run the server. Okay, Now let's go and give it a try, send, and we get this error message. Okay, so that's great, it's working. However, this is not really usable because we can't really show this error message because it doesn't make much sense. The path is shorter than minimum. It does the job, but it is not really user friendly. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to use a better error handling. So for that, there is a package called Express Validator, which is an excellent package for handling errors and giving users a proper error messages. Okay, so let's go ahead and install that package so that we can apply those validation rules when we create a new post. Okay, so here I'm going to install, so npm I, and the package name is Express Validator. Okay, now we can go to our project and let's go to app.js and let's require here. Okay, so here let's create a constant, let's call it Express Validator equals to require Express Validator. Okay, now we're going to use this as a middleware here. Okay, so come here and let's use this use method to use this middleware. Okay, and we execute like so. Okay, so with this we have the Express Validator applied as a middleware. Now all we need to do is create this validation. Okay, so we could do here, but I don't like to keep this controller messy. So instead I'm going to create a new folder and let's call that folder helpers. Okay, so let's create a new folder, and inside here we can create just index.js. Okay, we're not going to have too many helpers here, so let's call it index.js. Okay, and let's write our validation here. Let's export using the exports and let's call it create post validator. Okay, and this will get request, response, and next as an argument. Okay, and then we will check. Okay, and maybe it is a good idea to go to the official site and have a look at it as well. So let's go Express Validator. Okay, let's go here to the GitHub site. And there you see we can use the check method to check. For example, if we're trying to validate the username, okay, we can check that the length is minimum 5, is not empty, and so on. Okay, so you can obviously go through this documentation, but I will be showing you how you could apply this validation, and that will make perfect sense to you. Okay, so let's come back here. So create post validator. So the first thing we want to do is we want to check the request. So request, we use the check method as you saw here. You can use this check method with this package. Okay, so check, what do we want to check? We want to check title, and the second argument to this check method, the first one is the title or body, whatever you want to check, and then the second argument is what response you want to give to the users. So I would like to say writer title. Okay, and also want to make sure that this is not empty. Okay, so this is also another method you can use with this package. Then again, request check. Now this time title. So this check is to make sure that it is not empty. If it is empty, we will give them this error message, write a title. Okay, but if they have a title, if they write a title, but this is short, this is not long enough. Okay, then we can give the error message something like title must be between 4 to, let's say, 150 characters. Okay, dot is length, using this is length method, and we pass the object configuration. So let's say minimum is 4 and maximum is 150. Okay, so this will check against this rule, and if it doesn't match, it will give this error message. Okay, so this is for title, and we can do the similar validation for body. Okay, so copy paste here, body, and this time it's going to be body, right body, and this body must be, let's say, between 4 to 2000 characters. Okay, so let's change this to 2000. Okay, so this way we can validate title and body, and you will see how it works. Okay, now there will be multiple errors. You might not get only one error but many. So in that case, how do we look through all those errors and give them? So what we can do for that is, first we check errors. Okay, for all the errors we create a constant errors, and that will be all the request validation errors. Okay, so we will get all the request validation errors in this errors variable. Then if error, so the first one as they appear. Okay, so as they happen, as the error happens, we will give them, and we will give them the first one. Okay, so we take here if errors. Okay, if we got any of these errors from the request validation, what we're going to do is we're going to, let's create a first error variable, and this will map through all the errors. So whatever errors we got, we will map through each of them. Okay, and just extract the first one and give it to the user as a response. Okay, so errors map using this map method. Now this method takes function as an argument. Okay, function as an argument. So the argument, we can call anything we like. Let's call it error, and let me get rid of the curly brace because it's going to be one line. Okay, so it will take the error, map through all these errors, and for each individual error it will give the error message. Okay, but we are interested in only getting the first one from the array. Okay, so we can use this array syntax with 0, that will give us the first instance. Okay, then we can return the response with the status of 400 because there is an error, right? Along with that status code, we also want to give the JSON response so that it is user friendly. So we give the error message, and that will be the first error. Okay, so all this will happen, and then again we need to make sure that we let the operation, the process, run to the next middleware. Okay, so if there is an error occur, it will happen, but that will not halt our Node.js application. It will continue further whether there is an error or not. Okay, proceed to next middleware. Okay, so we use this next method. Okay, so we take request response next, apply the validation, we check for errors. For any errors, we look through them, take the first one and give that for any errors. After all this, it will continue to run our application. Okay, so we're going to use this. Let's copy this and let's go to our routes post, and we're going to apply that here. Okay, but before we do that, this is completely optional. Okay, but I think this one, I don't want to name it helpers. Instead, let's call it validator. That makes perfect sense because it's all about validation, and we might add few more methods here later as well. So let me change this to validation. Okay, so let's rename validator, let's call it. Okay, so this file is here. Beautiful. Now we can use this method in our routes post. Okay, so first thing we need to require here, so let's call it const validator equals to require, and we need to go one step up. We need to go to validator, and we don't need to say index. Okay, so if it is index.js file, that will automatically load. Okay, that is the benefit of creating index file. Okay, so all we need to do is that. Beautiful. Okay, so we can apply this validation before we create a post. So before we even pass this to a create method, we want to apply the validation. Only if this validation is passed, then it will go to this method. Okay, validator dot create post validator, right? That is the method. Okay, and it will go to this next middleware. Okay, beautiful. Before we give it a try, let's go to controllers, and since we're handling the errors there, we don't have to worry about this one. Okay, so we can get rid of this error check here. So let me actually refactor this one. Let me just comment this out. Okay, let's make it simple. So post.save. Okay, and we can use then method. Then we get result. Okay, and using this arrow function, we can send the response with status of 200. Okay, along with that, we send the JSON response as the post itself. Okay, which is the result. Okay, now let's get rid of this. Beautiful. Okay, so now we can give it a try. We have the routes, we have the validation, we have the create post method. Beautiful. Okay, save this file. Let's go to our terminal here, make sure everything is running perfect. Now let's go to Postman and let's give it a try. Let's see what error we get. Do we get the similar or something better? Let's give it a try. Beautiful. This is exactly what I wanted to see, right? So we got the beautiful user-friendly error that says title must be between 4 to 150 characters. And this validation is coming from the validator we just created here. Okay? Because the title was short, so title must be between 4 to 150. What if we give the empty title? We should see this error message. Let's give it a try again. Okay? So let's say we try to create a post without any title. Okay, let's send and you get writer title. Okay, so this is absolutely beautiful. This is awesome validation. Let's create, and we successfully create a new post. And because we have the validation here, using the express validator, we can go to our model and let's simplify this a bit. We don't really need this here. Okay, so let's get rid of that, make it simple. And we can get rid of this message and let's use the boolean true. Okay, so required, yes, it is true. Okay, beautiful. So once you save that, go to the postman, and for the last time, let's give it a try. Okay, so let's try creating without a title. Okay, we got that error. Let's pass only 2 characters. We get this error. Okay, validation. And we can create a new post successfully. And if you go to your database in MLab, you see all the posts you have created so far. Okay, beautiful. It's been quite long, but I hope you really enjoyed this validation process, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you. So far, you saw how you could create a new post. Okay, make sure you have the content type application JSON in your headers, and this way you're sending the body, title and body, to create a new post. And you also have all these posts saved in the database. That means we are ready to get all these posts and display to the users. So if you go to our project, currently in our controller we have this get post method where we are just hard coding these sample posts and we're giving it to the client, right? So if you go here and make a get request to the default route, okay, we need to make sure we have the server running. Okay, so we get them, right? But it's time to get all these posts from the database because we have the actual post there now. So let's get them and display to the users like so. Okay, so let's work on this controller method here. Okay, let me get rid of this. To get all the posts from the database, we have the post model that represents post collection in the database, so it's really easy to get all the posts. So let's create a variable using const. Let's call it post. Okay. To get all the posts, we can refer to this post model, post with capital P. Okay. So that is the post model that gives us post collection from the database. And with this, we can use the find method, and it will give you all the posts. So it will find all the posts and give you. It's really simple and really easy to use. And later we will see how to customize the query we make, but at the moment let's just not worry about all that and get all the posts. Okay, and that is all you need to do. Then what you can do is we can return the JSON response to our front-end client, or if we get any error, we need to catch the error as well. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to use this arrow function. So then if we get posts, we will return with the status code of 200. Okay, status 200, and the JSON with the posts key and with the value of post is all the posts from the database. Okay, that is all we need to do. But if we catch the error, let's console log. Most likely we will not get an error at this point, but let's log the error if we get any. Okay, so save this file, and with this we should be able to give it a try. Let's go to Postman and let's make a GET request to our default route here. And as you can see, we got all the posts from the database. Beautiful. Okay, so we have a couple of posts here. Now what we can do is we can come back here to our getPost method and simplify this method a bit. Okay, so by default Express, now if you go to the Postman here, you see the status code 200. That is the default status code. Okay, so anytime you want to give the status code of 200, you don't actually have to give, because by default the default status is 200 sent by the Express framework. Okay, so we can get rid of this status. Okay, and just give the JSON response. Save this file and let's give it a try just to make sure that we get it. Okay. Send. Okay, we can see still we got the 200. Okay, now if you come back here and do something silly here, let's say some typo here, just to see the error, what status we get here. Okay, let's send, and you see 500 internet server error. That means by default it is send out 200 if everything goes correctly, so we don't have to keep writing a status code of 200. Okay, so that is one thing. That's good. We can even update this method. Let's get rid of the status. Okay, let's save this. Now another thing we can do is when we have the key and the value, they are the same, they have the same name. That means we don't have to write it like so. We can just leave it like this. Okay, so that will do the same thing. To make sure, let's give it a try, and you can see it's working perfectly fine. So that's good. What else we can do here? In fact, I can show you one more thing. Right now we have used the find method to get everything that is in the post. Okay, so we have the title, ID, and body, and we have this v. By default it is assigned by the MongoDB, which is not really useful in this case. So we can customize our response. Okay, so what you can do is you can come back to this find method and use the method chaining. So chain another method that is called select. Okay, with this select method you can select what fields you want to get. Okay, because at the moment we're not interested in this v version. Okay, so we just want to get the ID, title, and body, and don't worry about any other properties. Okay, so that means we can use this select method and we can write it down. What do we want to select? Okay, so we want to select the ID. Okay, and there is no comma, anything, just this space. Okay, so first one ID, second one title, and third one body. Okay, so this is what we want. This is what we want to select from this post collection. Okay, So this is beautiful. This select method is really cool. Now we can give it a try. Come back here, give it try one more time, and this time you saw the V is gone and we just got the ID, title and body, exactly what we wanted. Okay, so this is our get post method to get all the posts from the database. In this lesson we're going to do some code refactoring and get ready for the authentication. The main reason I want to have authentication before moving forward is that it is really important to have the authentication in the beginning, because our whole application based on this authentication system, right? For example, right now anyone can create a post. Okay, so we have our database open for the entire world and that is not really a great idea. For example, I can make a post request to our route of the localhost/post. Okay, if I send, I can create new post. I just did. Awesome. Yeah, validation. Okay, now if I go and get all the posts and all the way down, and you saw it. That means our database is open for everyone, and that is not a really great thing. What we need to do is we need to implement the authentication, so only the logged in users will be able to create a new post. Okay, and that is the reason I want to implement validation now, and once we have the validation we can continue to grow our application. Okay, and our authentication is going to be very flexible, so that later on not only we will have login registration, we will also have the forgot password, okay, password reset, so that we can send email to users, so when they click on the link they will be able to reset the password as well. And not only that, we will also implement the social authentication, something like login with Google, login with Facebook, that sort of thing. Okay, so it's going to be a rock solid authentication. But before we move on to the authentication, let me just quickly do some code refactoring here. So if you go to the controller, and I'm in the routes here, okay, you see a bit of a repetition here. For example, post controller dot get post, post controller again for the create post, and it will only continue to grow. So what I would like to do is I would like to extract these methods here. Okay, so change this from post controller to this object. So object, and we destructure the methods directly there. Okay, also do this one, copy and paste here. So that means we don't have to keep writing this long name here. Okay, here. Okay, so this works perfectly fine, and this is much more cleaner and much more readable, and yeah, there's not much repetition as well. Okay, so this is completely optional, but I guess you will like this approach. Okay, now with this, let's move on to the next section so that we can start working on the authentication. See you. Now that you understand the basics of Node.js, you should go ahead and start building a full stack project using Node. And I can't think of a better idea than building a complete social network using Node.js in the backend and React.js in the front end. Okay, so here I have a course in Udemy. If you search for Node React, okay, hopefully my course will come on top, but at the moment it's sitting somewhere down here, and I've got 4.1. hopefully I will get some good ratings. It just in the early stage I've got only a few ratings. Okay, but this course is absolutely incredible, not because it's my course, because it covers everything from scratch to deployment in the cloud server. Okay, so you will learn Node.js from scratch, React.js from absolute scratch, you'll learn the modern JavaScript, everything from scratch to the level where you can completely build a real-world social network, and you also learn to deploy it to the cloud. Okay, so this covers everything. It covers login, register, forgot password, user profile, uploading images, there is relationships, likes, comments, and not only that, you will also learn to deploy it to the cloud hosting as well. There's so much more. Just have a look in the preview video. Okay. But what I would like to show you is I will give you a coupon, so that way you will pay the minimum price if you are interested to enroll into this course. So just go here, have a coupon, and type Node React. Okay, so all capital letter Node React, and if you apply, you see now it's $14.99. But once you apply, it will give you the discounted price, 94% off. Okay, so that is the maximum discount you can get. So if you are interested in building this full stack social network from scratch to deployment, where you will learn Node.js and React.js from absolute scratch, make sure to enroll into this course and apply this coupon code so that you pay the minimum price possible. All right. Once again, thank you for being part of this course, and I hope to see you in my future courses as well. Thank you.